Welcome back to the Commercial Vehicle Pro podcast. I'm your host, Candy, and today we're gathering a group of leaders who are helping drive the commercial vehicle world forward. Now, this isn't going to be a standard conversation focused purely on the challenges of working in a male dominated field. Instead, we're stepping back to talk about careers and defining experiences that shaped us, the real progress that's happening in the industry, and kind of where we're headed next. And joining me today are Kathryn, Autumn, Steph, and Stacie. And we all took very different paths into the automotive and commercial fleet world, which is going to make it fun to talk about. So to kick this thing off, let's just get a quick round of introductions. And I'd love for each of you to share your current role, how long you've been in the commercial vehicle or the automotive space, in a single sentence describing what you do today. Kathryn, let's start with you. Then Autumn, Steph, and Stacie.
I'm a little bit unique because I'm what's known as a serial entrepreneur. So I've had a number of experiences going into new industries because of starting businesses. And my experience was I got introduced to this industry through publishing a publication and helping launch a professional association called the National Ford Truck Club. And that experience led me to fall in love with the space. So I'm very excited today. I'm the founder of Work Truck Solutions, and my role is as the Chief Vision Officer and helping to build all the things that you were talking about, Candy.
I'm Autumn, and I'm the team lead of the Ford Pro Strategic Team at Work Truck Solutions. I've been in the commercial industry for about a decade, starting at my family's Ford dealership. And today I use my hands-on dealership background to help other dealers master the commercial side of vehicle sales and maximize their digital tools.
I'm Stephanie. I'm a product manager here at Work Truck Solutions. I've been in automotive for 20 years, which feels a little hard to say. And my role here has me taking feedback from dealers, from our support team and other industry leaders, and helping build new tools and features that help make it easier for the dealers to move metal.
My name is Stacie. I've also been in the industry, Steph, for 20 years. 21. This is my 21st year in automotive. The last 5 of those in the commercial space, which I just fell in love with when I joined Work Truck Solutions. And I'm the sales leader here. So I'm leading all the sales efforts with prospect dealers and with our current customers.
So with those great intros, just a show of hands, who planned from childhood to build a career in the work trucks and commercial vans? Yeah. That's what I thought. So let's kind of trace it back to the start. How did each of you actually land in this sector? Was it any planning, complete luck, maybe a bit of both? Kathryn, I'm going to let you break the ice on this one as well.
You bet. And in fact, I realized that I didn't mention how long ago it was. In 2007, I was asked to help somebody start this association. And he was a sweet guy, and he was selling at a store, but he did not understand how to publish or how to start an association. He just knew that this new thing called the internet was probably going to make it easier for dealers to participate with each other in kind of virtual truck clubs. And so that was kind of, that now that I think about it, that's getting close to 20 years, right, ago. But it wasn't until 2009, 10, 11 that I started realizing that there was a big problem in this space that was hampering everyone from moving forward, which is visibility into what the vehicles are and how to move forward so that the bottom line, at the time it was a $130 billion industry. And since no one was keeping track of what the vehicles became, they really didn't even understand the customers. And that's what fascinated me. And I love the people. They're just so hardworking, salt of the earth, backbone of the U.S. economy.
I think we're probably going to find that after we all kind of touch on this, right, that is the one common thread. It's the people. So Steph, when you crossed into, what was that transition like for you, and what skill did you bring over?
I was a baby. I was 19 when I started at the dealership as the personal assistant for the dealer principal, essentially. And I totally stumbled into it. Literally had just been emailing every business in the local chamber of commerce looking for something other than my part-time role at the movie theater. Um, they needed someone, the owner of the dealership at the time had kind of been pulling folks out of the business office to type for him and send correspondence and things like that. So that was my first role. Um, Certainly nothing I sought intentionally, but like Kathryn said, the people are interesting. There's so many characters in the industry that it's kind of kept me around.
Autumn, I have a question since you came from the dealership side, right? Um, you can kind of answer that same question, but I would love to know at what point did the light bulb come on and you're thinking, this isn't just a job, it's my career?
That's fantastic. So I'll give a little background too. I actually grew up in the dealership. It was a family business. So all the way back to selling Girl Scout cookies was the first job I was working there, going in and heading up all the sales guys and asking them to buy cookies from me. And then transitioned to around 13, 14 years old. Every summer and winter, I'd start working on sedans jobs, stocking in vehicles, filing paperwork, the easy things to begin with. But in 2016, after my uncle passed away, I came back to the dealership after graduating college. And that's kind of what pulled me in. They needed assistance in the commercial office, and I hadn't stepped into that role yet. So that was my first introduction to it. I kind of learned very quickly that I'm not good on the retail side. If a family came in and said, hey, we need to buy a vehicle that can seat 7 passengers because our family's growing, I was the person who said, okay, let me figure out how to give this to you under cost. I really like that very much. Didn't go over very well. And I quickly realized that when I moved into commercial, the B2B business was so much easier. To them, it was a business transaction. Like Kathryn said, they were salt of the earth people. So for me, I loved being able to connect, learn more about their businesses. And then one of the things I really pulled in from that is just being able to be a creative problem solver. Not one solution is going to fit for every plumber. So you have to learn about their business and what they do in order to give them the right solution. So that's kind of when I decided, like, yep, this is where I'm meant to be.
I like that, Autumn, because I always say, you gave the retail example. So we all buy retail for different reasons, right? And everyone's why can totally be different. But with B2B, you know the why. They have a job to do, right? So just understanding how they built their business and where you can, meet together, I think is the fun part. But you already know the underlying why. And I think it's just easier to help. And the passion comes out. Stacie, same question to you. And then since you mentioned being so much in retail first, and then your the last portion being in commercial, what surprised you the most about the differences?
So I wasn't a baby when I started. I had spent 12 years in the alcoholic beverage industry. So I was doing business to business sales, but I was selling wine to restaurants and liquor stores and that sort of thing. So I had a career that I thought I would be in forever. And a friend of mine went to work for the first digital marketplace for used inventory, retail inventory, and absolutely loved the company and loved the business. And she had been in the same industry I was in. So she had spent a year or so in automotive, kept telling me how much fun it was, how exciting it was because it was something so new in the industry. And so I followed her and right into the retail space. So my position was a salesperson calling on franchise and independent dealers, selling them digital advertising when it was brand new. I mean, brand new. And people thought the internet was a fad.
Yeah, that was hard. It
was hard, but it was also really fun. It was, it felt kind of pioneering to some degree. And
More fun than selling radio.
yeah, definitely more fun than selling radio or newspaper ads, right? I was getting to sell against those folks. And that my career grew within that company. and I saw the industry the digital advertising space kind of begin for automotive, and then tons of new players come in, and over the course of that, you know, 18-ish years, I learned a lot, but most of my roles were in sales and sales management, and I loved I like business to business sales. That's just my favorite thing. I'm not a uh consumer sales person. That wasn't what I loved. But businesses and helping businesses find ways to make more money, be more profitable, and differentiate themselves from the others. The commercial space after COVID, that COVID opened up opportunities for lots of us to make changes a little bit in our trajectory. And another friend introduced me to Kathryn and Work Truck Solutions. And I was so excited. I was really excited about working for a woman founder, but not just anyone. I mean, Kathryn is it. I mean, and I have learned so much from her and so much from the commercial side. And just as she said, and everyone else said, there's just something so rewarding with being able to help the everyday business owner do their job and do it well and be profitable and efficient. And I'm in love with that part of the business. That's the core of it. And then the rest of it is all helping inventory get to those people when they need it for the right job. So
Yeah, because it's pretty complex.
it is. It is.
So looking back across your journeys, we've all had the key moments or mentors that completely did change the trajectory. And I know, Stacie, you just shared a little bit about your Steph. When you reflect on your career so far, what single opportunity, person, or a hard lesson had the greatest influence on how you operate today?
I would say as far as a mentor kind of would be, so when I started at Work Truck Solutions, I started in a role similar to Autumn's on the customer support team. I don't feel like I was very good at it. Outbound phone calls are not a strength of mine. But the woman who led the customer support team at the time, she had seen some potential in me as far as the more technical side of things, and coordinated with the head of our engineering department to help me get a role on the technical side. So I was able to move from customer service into QA, and that got me now into product management. So it was her ability to see past my shortcomings in customer support and help me get a new role that I think, really has been great for my career in automotive. Taking me, still allowing me to gather all of those experiences from the retail side, from support, being on the phone with dealers, and now elevating that into moving the product forward.
Autumn.
Oh, yes, Holly. Holly and Claire were my boosts at thrown to the engineering team.
Claire, yes. Both great, strong ladies. Very good. Autumn, does that resonate with your experience, or was there a specific role maybe that pushed you way out of your comfort zone and forced you to trust your own expertise?
I think part of my challenge coming into this was being in a male-dominated business. You definitely have the people who come in and they already have their mindset of, I don't necessarily want a female. And so that was hard for me to accept at first, that we were a female team. I came in underneath a great manager who had already made strides in the industry and kind of was changing minds locally. But you still would occasionally get that customer who would come in and be like, oh, I'm requesting a male commercial salesperson. We didn't have that. So one thing that I really had to overcome was not taking it personally, that they were upset that I was their person. And then when they would leave the appointment, they would just say, wow, like, I didn't expect to get that kind of knowledge from you. I didn't expect you to take me into this in-depth discussion and look through everything that I do in my business to make the right recommendation for me. I thought you'd just say, here's the vehicle on the lot and drive off and be happy. And that's not how I worked. And so I think that was such a challenge for me to overcome, that I was able to kind of redirect my thinking and go, okay, I can make every person come out of this, even if they're still upset about something, I can help them come out of this the right way for their business. And that was where I would focus then. How am I going to impact their bottom line? How am I going to help them come up with the new solution that they've never heard of? I mean, switching someone from a van to a KUV, the amount of time that you save them that they would not have thought of had they just walked onto another lot and had somebody else help them and just push them into a unit.
I think that's great because I think it's the help part, Autumn, that is the determination to overcome that no matter what. Like you're really there to help them. Maybe it's not sell a unit. Maybe they don't even buy a unit from you at all, right? But it's building that relationship. And I think that in the B2B world that's the heart of it. Kathryn, I would love to hear from you if there was a great influence or opportunity or mentor or a hard lesson.
I am significantly older than anyone on this panel. And so my background of, being a female starts at a different generation. And so coming from that background where there were a lot of no's, that you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. When I thought about this question, I thought, well, one thing was that my dad said I could do anything. Now, this was with him making jokes about women drivers and, women should have never gotten the vote and all sorts of stuff like that at the time. But he told me that I could do anything. And so, but there wasn't an environment or a context of mentorship. It was extremely early days competitive. Women felt competitive with each other because the transition was happening against lots of pressures, right? And also women, and I'm talking very generally, it wasn't all the same, obvious. But the other thing that typically happened was that women tried to be men. And so, what I've watched happen, by the way, I hear people complain today and I go, man, just go watch a 50s movie. Just go watch a TV show from the 60s, right? Because it has changed so much. And it's happened because people like you, women like you, have achieved things. I mean, we had a joke that I used to tell, which was, things have gotten better for women, right? But it still requires that women do twice the work as a man to get the same acknowledgement or a validation. Good thing it's so easy. So that was one of my favorite jokes. And I'm not really telling it that much anymore because women have come out of that. They've really what's cool is it's not just that anymore. It's like the uniqueness that a different gendered person can bring. I'm not going to get into gender conversations, but I taught marketing for a while. Genders are different. You market to them differently because they think differently, because they have different tendencies and skill sets. And so I've actually not had a lot of mentors, and it's only been maybe in the last 5 or 6 years that I've started having really deep, high-level relationships with women in the industry that I have a great deal of respect for, where we share that kind of collaboration and insight. But what I did do is I started trying to be a mentor because I felt like that was the path. And so I'm actually looking at a number of people now that I felt very confident in. And, to me, that's like you said, Steph. I mean, when somebody says, hey, you can do something, and that gives you that extra, but not how to do it, maybe help guide you through what you might like to do or what your personality might be best at or whatever, but giving you that confidence that you can do it and that you're a strong enough person that if you learn it's not something that you want to do, or not something that you like to do, or not something that you're good at, you can make choices. So when people ask me about, how do you give women advice? I'm like, be yourself. Trust in yourself. Do what you see is the right path for yourself. And anyway,
No, that is so strong. That's the authentic, be yourself, right? So, maybe Stacie, to you, going back to that, because I look up to all of you on this call, right? So I take little things away from each one of you, for to push you out of your comfort zone or to trust your own expertise. Stacie, you had mentioned about went into the retail space with another colleague, right? And then having a successful career and then making the step and just leading the entire um, outstanding team. Awesome. Right. Anything, I would just love to hear your input on that.
I'm one of those people that thinks about when I'm having conversations with anyone, whether it's someone I'm attempting to mentor or lead or manage, or engage with, as a customer. I ask the questions about. I really ask, like, what's important to them. What are their goals? I think that when you can, nothing happens unless you know what the other person is trying to achieve. And I think that's for coworkers, others in the company, some of my prior mentors. And, I've had several that were really outstanding, that were men that bl- saw something in me, helped me. Yeah, that's kind of surprising. No, I'm just kidding.
well, and let me just say something about what you just said, because what you're talking about is you learning their goals, but what's even more important is them knowing what their goals are, right?
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes there's conversation that happens when people don't. And by talking through what's important to them, we find out maybe that they might be better suited or need exposure to another segment of the business, like Steph experienced. I'm, one of the things that is really, really important to me in the team that I lead, or the folks that I work with every day, is making sure that I help them reach whatever it is they're trying to accomplish. I feel like if I can do that, then I set the example for them to do that for customers, for others, peers, and others they may like to lead. And it's not always easy to know exactly what you want. You're right, Kathryn. So that's kind of what I've experienced. And then the steps that have helped me to be successful have been people that cared about what I wanted to achieve as well.
And I'm so appreciative of your bringing that focus of the success of your team, and thus the success of our customers, into the company.
Yeah, it's outstanding. Like all this, like I think we really probably could talk about it for hours. I want to just share some things that Kathryn specifically has helped me with. I think that when you start your career early, those goals change. You change as a person, right? So, some of it's by default age, and I know we all hate to hear the things, you're young or those things, right? But naturally, we change with age, right? Because we have experienced more. We've faced different things, whether that be personal, professional. And I learned naturally, probably for many years, I trended on personality tests. I was always the same, right? It was just the same chart, like same personality, likes the same things, dislikes the same things. And then I went in predetermined on my outcome of one probably about 8 or 9 years ago. And when I got the results back, I was like, oh, wow, maybe I should take that again. Maybe I just, because it started to read different. It started to shift different. And I think that having someone, Stacie, like yourself, and being a leader And I think that Steph's in a great position to do the same thing with people she works with. And Autumn, you work on a big team too, is that you keep talking about the goals, right? It's not a one time and done because they're continuously changing. And maybe they wasn't interested in it a year ago, right? But a lot can happen professionally and personally in a year other than just age that makes you want to go down different paths and open different doors.
It's not like the whole world isn't changing around us.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's okay to change, right? I think sometimes people in my generation, my goal was to find a solid company that I knew I'd have great benefits and I'd have a future with, that would teach me things and I could have an impact on. And that changed at some point. I realized that I probably could have a greater impact in a place that was maybe smaller, or wasn't at this, was in a different stage of the company. And it's okay to do that, right? It's okay to say, I thought this has been a lot of time, a lot of years, but now I'm gonna
Great to have impact being a goal.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That you said something interesting too, Stacie, because I remember like having to have those conversations with my mom, right? And it was like she never had to go through a downsize or a layoff or a career change period. Um, and yeah, because they just went to work, right? And you were going to retire there with great benefits and a pension and all those things that just, it's, it's just do what you want to do. I think each one of us have said that. Um, So I think that kind of brings us up to our next topic. I was reading an article recently about Golden Seeds, which is an organization focused on investing in women-led businesses. So over 22 years, their members have put in more than $200 million into 279 women entrepreneurs. And those companies went on to raise over $2.5 billion. So that figure is impressive, but what really struck me was the compounding effect of experienced women investing the time, knowledge, and industry connections back into others. Autumn, let's bring you in here. Beyond capital, what does investing in women, or we could even say investing in people, look like on a day-to-day for you?
I think on a day to day, I have two sides of it. I have my direct reports on the team who I am investing in helping them. Hey, here's a new problem your dealer has. Let's work through this so that you can do this again in the future. So you feel confident the next time a problem comes to you. So for me, investing in them is empowering them to feel like they have the solutions going forward instead of feeling like they need to, raise it up, that they're now confident in themselves. And I want each of my employees to feel that way. So I look at that way. And then with my dealers, it's all about learning them, learning their business in the same way that I had to learn about plumbers and had to learn about construction people. I think building them up is more, okay, so you function in this specific way. So this is how you need to do things. This is how I would recommend it. Or here's how you're going to go drive additional business to you. So being out of the box with them, using that creative mind, creative thinking that I really was talking about earlier, that I can help them drive that additional business. So like building themselves up and making themselves look good within the dealerships, because I work with a lot of commercial managers. And I'll just tell you guys, I was there. Even in a family business, we were the black sheep. Nobody wants to look at the commercial department. Nobody wants to invest.
We're going to change that, Autumn. We're going to change that.
We already are. We already are. Our tools are already offering that to dealers. If they're willing to put in the time, set up the site appropriately, and put the effort behind it, they're going to get those results. And so it's helping them change their mindset into, this is a task I have to do, into, oh my goodness, look at the results that I'm driving. That extra 10 minutes I took to send invoices, wow, it made an impact. And I sold vehicles. And that helps raise them up in the dealership too, that they're going, you're driving sales we never saw before. You're making, the most gross for our dealership. And suddenly, it's not a hard thing to convince marketing to put a little bit of money behind their department and to start getting them to invest in commercial and realize the value of the commercial market. So two different views there.
No, that is excellent. I mean, I'm feeling passionate and excited all of a sudden, Autumn. Steph, what does investing in women or invested in people look like on a day to day for you?
I would say for me, and the biggest thing that I've experienced, particularly here in my current role, is just the flexibility and the understanding that employees are people and need to do people things. Since starting to work here, I've become a mom twice over, and heaven knows kids do not appreciate the 9 to 5 work schedule. So whether that means, the fact that I'm able to work from home, and if a child is sick, be flexible around meetings and things like that, or answer Slack messages in the waiting room from a doctor's office, I'm still being as impactful for my team. It doesn't matter as much if I'm there versus in an office at a desk. I think that's a hugely important thing. I watched my parents commute 45 minutes each way for my entire childhood, and I can't imagine having that extra hour and a half away from home, from family. It just kind of puts everything into a bit more of a disarray. I will say I do appreciate that my partner works out of the house, because then I get to have the house for myself. So that's flexibility that's really working.
Yes. That's powerful. I like that so much, right? So thanks to all the generations before us that made it possible that we could even be in a place that we could have that flexibility. Um, for Kathryn and Stacie, I'll start with Kathryn. How critical are simple actions like making warm introductions or sponsoring someone for a project, or like Steph said, believing verbally, sharing with them that you see their abilities and believe in them and offering them advice. How important is that in building real momentum for leaders?
Well, I think when to me, I have met a couple of leaders in my life that impressed me. And the title that I would give them is servant leaders. And so let's agree that, to me, that's the only goal, is to be a servant leader. And being a servant leader is, like the stuff that Stacie talked about that she's doing. It's about serving the goals of the people internally first, which have to align to the goals of the company and the customer, which, by the way, the goals of the company have to align to the goals of the customer. So all of that just becomes, the goal that you can move towards, and there's no tension or stress. You can be a virtual company, which was one of my original goals when I started the company. I really wanted to have people be able to live wherever they wanted to live and live the life that they wanted to live. Just a little side note, we were the first company in Northern California to use GoToMeeting way back. So to me, it was always about, having a connection with everybody in different ways. You didn't, face-to-face is wonderful. I love hugs. But it's about how you connect with people and how you serve them.
I totally agree with that. I think that you ask how important it is. I think it's extremely important that that everyone around you knows the impact they can have, and how, if it's in a work environment, how each person fits into the larger picture and how important their roles are. When you understand that, regardless of what you do, that it impacts the company and it helps to move everyone forward, then you have, a more cohesive environment. And the culture that Kathryn has built in this kind of with this goal of people being able to live the life that they want to live and still have an impact and still be very involved in a company that's growing at the level we are, is amazing. And it's the reason I'm still here, and it's the reason why I'll retire here. I got to speak to a group of newer employees earlier today, and I think I was talking about sales and the process and how we operate, but but I ended with the culture piece and how important it is to know that you have a voice. We work in an environment where everybody has a voice. They can bring a suggestion. They can bring a problem. They can also bring a solution to a problem, that they're heard. And real successful leaders, I think, make sure that everyone all the way down feels that way. And I think Kathryn has created a company where that is easy to do, and that's real important to our success.
Good idea can come from anywhere, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, like I think the idea of culture is really interesting, and how different culture can be if you're in the dealership versus in a company like ours where you serve the dealerships and things like that. I seen several people, women in particular, who really struggled in dealerships because of the culture there potentially. And I was like, well, consider jumping into a software company that supports the industry. You can take advantage of that knowledge, put it to work, but get the IT sort of culture that I think is a bit more prevalent, the openness, like Kathryn has done a great job of fostering. That's kind of been my little, maybe not direct mentorship, but my little tidbit to drop to people who want to stay in the industry and like it, but find it a little bit of a struggle at times.
I think that's very valuable. Thank you, Steph, for that. And I can say from being in the calling on dealerships for years and being in one, you do see it, right? Like it's real. The struggle sometimes, just the environment, and it's not intentional or out of malice. It's just a lot of the times it's the schedule. You talked about flexibility earlier, Steph. It's just the schedule, the bell to bell every day of the week, and after Thanksgivings all day, every day of the week, right? So, um, well, I think that I just wanted to add a little bit from my perspective to that is about when people feel valued, right? Like you could do big things with little, you're mighty because you have the right people in the right places. And that just, what Kathryn has done at Work Truck Solutions, and it's not just female, it's all, right? It is that we have the ability to raise hands or express concerns, even if we're the only one in the room that might have that concern, right? It's still very valid and important, and it's listened to and nurtured. And thank you for that. And again, I've worked with each of you on this call to do things, and it's been an honor. Well, having spent significant time navigating this landscape, from Class 1 all the way to Class 8 heavy-duty trucks, the upfitting world, the technology, the fleet management, we've all seen transformations. If we just look at Work Truck Week last year, right? I think we all were in attendance on this call. There are just a lot of changes. Steph, where have you noticed the most significant change in the automotive since you've entered the field? Do you think it's for opportunity, right? Do you think it's broader talent pools?
I think the technology changing, so much. Obviously, some of the software that we still used in the dealership when I left was, built on top of 80s platforms, DOS-based things and stuff like that. And being able to be at a company where we get to build the new things, it's definitely been very exciting and opens so many opportunities. I think for that creativity, like I think a few of us have spoken about, we don't have to do it the way that the big players have always done it. We can do the new things.
Yes, I like that. Autumn, how about with you having the flipped coin side of that, the double-sided coin, changing client expectations, like, right, with your dealers?
I think we have seen a large change in client expectations, especially since COVID. Um, I'll give a little background on kind of what happened with us at the Ford dealership. When we didn't have product to sell, Ford didn't just say, "Oh, sorry, we don't have product to sell." Ford said, okay, that's great. Let's look into long-term value. How can we help with fleet life cycling? How can we help customers have more insights into their service schedules that they need? Okay, let's put telematics in the vehicles. Now we can track the app codes. So now they know exactly how long they're going to be in the service bay and they can pre-plan those items out. So I think with that transition, and I only speak from the Ford side since that's where I came from, but that transition was huge in boosting customer expectations that you don't just go in and buy the vehicle off the lot anymore. They expect our dealers to come back to them with full solutions of, okay, here's the vehicle you're going to buy, and here's your commercial line of credit that you're going to open, and here's how we're going to grow into this, and you're going to cycle it in 5 years. I think that their expectations have really changed because there's so much more that we can offer them these days. So it's not necessarily a one-to-one. I think COVID really forced our industry to have to move forward in those types of ways and not function in the ways that they always had functioned in.
Stacie, leading all the sales efforts, I know you do a lot with upfitters and partners. Anything, and even if you could just add, be interesting to hear your take on the dealerships that I know you participate in meetings and stuff, things that you hear from any of that.
From the as it relates to how the industry's evolved, that's what you're asking about. Yeah. I look, it's close your eyes for a few minutes or take a week off of vacation and things change so much. It's hard to keep up. What I hear a lot from dealer customers is that they're so interested in hearing about what's new. We still have a wide suite of things and tools and great things that help them uh, be more efficient, that they don't all take advantage of, and then we want to know about all the extra cool new things. Sometimes we're reimagining the things that we've already done. I think that's part of how the industry's involved and how technology is helping it. Things that we thought or features or products that we created um, are reimagined because now we have technology to take them to a different level. And 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 I think the biggest thing though is the different perspectives of the people that I interact with on a weekly basis, how different they are today than they were 4 years ago when I started in, or 5 years ago when I started in commercial. Um, I mean, it's really important to hear and listen to all perspectives because you just never know when they're going to be the thing that kind of moves you forward. Hearing, from different experiences come different perspectives. And then and if we can't keep blinders on, we can't think our idea is the only idea. We have to listen and seek the perspective of others. And I think that technology has brought more perspective, more different experience into the industry, if that makes sense. And so therefore there's more perspectives to hear from and more creative, exciting future things to do as a result of that.
Kathryn, since you first kind of entered the field of automotive and commercial, I'm going to speak on maybe from an OEM level. I know we've had some big leadership changes across our space and women-led initiatives. Anything that you can add from there, from how you've seen that change?
Well, I think there's I haven't seen what I would call a dramatic change in the numbers of women that are involved in leadership, but I don't see that there's any necessarily restriction going on. I see, for example, the new CEO of Ford Pros is a woman, right? So I think I think if anything, I would say it's open. There is a lot of change going on, and the change going on is, reflective of what Autumn was talking about, which is it's become very clear that commercial is a important and maybe primary part of their business opportunity, because it's not just selling the vehicles, it's the entire cycle and the relationship and the additional services and all of that. And watching that, because literally when we installed our first dealer in 2012, it was, commercial was in the trailer in the back lot, and you never knew where the guy was, and nobody really cared. And from that, and lots of slow, up until, I agree, I think COVID kind of really focused people on what do you do when things are different? Like, you've got to come up with an approach. But I'm pretty sure that it was, I would say it was like the spurs to the situation, because they couldn't just keep the same and still go into business. But it was always there for them. So the frustrating thing for me was constantly having conversations about what it could be. So I think what happened from 2020 to 22 was a big positive for us and for the industry. It really helped make people listen more and understand more and appreciate more. And it was tough, but sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes when things are too easy, people just do what's easy, and what was easy was nothing, because every day commercial just delivered the money.
Well, if you could be profitable doing nothing, and sometimes there's those cycles in the business cycle, right? And that's what having people get comfortable. Well, just a couple more questions. I'll kind of divide these up before we wrap it up. So let's talk personal growth for a second. Stacie, real quick, just a short answer. What's one professional skill or leadership quality that you rely on today that maybe your younger self would be completely shocked to see?
Listening more and talking less. I'm a talker anyway, but I was a real talker, and my younger self was a big talker. I wanted people to know how smart I was, or not. But what I know
It was
today is,
passion.
and excitement, right? I mean, I definitely did that. But I think part of that came from being in a couple of both industries. When I was new to them, I felt like I needed to talk a little more so people had some confidence in me. Kind of what Autumn was explaining a little bit about a little while ago. But ultimately, what the thing that I think is most important today is, and that I really try to work on, is listening more than I talk, and being curious and asking questions.
I want to tell you that I think you're a great listener. I also think that you ask great questions. So that's why I know you're a great listener. So when we meet, you ask great questions.
Well, thanks.
I have longer to think about, right? So I've gone through more iterations and evolutions. What I find is that I this is going to sound a little woo woo, but gut feeling, or I guess other ways of thinking about it could be micro expressions. If you want to get extreme into science and technology, or if you want to look at, the more natural reactions that people have, I really feel that once you get to a particular experience level, you can understand at a very deep level and be involved at a deeper level. And I got to tell you, I love working with AI now, because AI has finally gotten to a level of competency where I think that the insights that I have can build value using AI as something that will take care of all the complications of data. And so I'm very excited about that part of it, where anyway, so that's kind of like my next stage. I mean, literally, I held off because I tried it a couple times and said, not ready, not ready, not ready. And now I really feel that there's going to be some very exciting things.
So to wrap it up, final question for you, Steph, piggybacking off what Kathryn just mentioned, what excites you the most about where our industry's headed, whether it's the connected vehicle data, digital retailing tools, or just fleet technologies?
I would say really just the continued ability to use software and use technology to take the focus off of the paperwork and the tasks and the busy work and really let people focus on the relationships. It would be appealing to me as someone entering the industry if I don't have to know all of the ins and outs of the measurements of a box truck or whatever. I have all that data in hand available to provide. I can instead focus my mind and my time and effort on those relationship building tasks to really, win the customer, keep the customer, and help them grow their business as we go.
No, I think that's a great answer, Steph. I think that's going to be more important as we move forward for that dealership customer relationship, because it's going to be more than just the vehicle, right? So you have to have that relationship foundation, because you're not just going to be talking about moving units anymore. It's about being part of their business. Autumn, to wrap it up for you, what would excite you the most about where we're headed?
It's going to sound like my answer was paid for, but I have got to say, to see where Work Truck Solutions is going to drive the commercial industry. Coming from the dealer side, the very first thing I said when I got here was, we need a commercial CRM. If we had a commercial CRM, that's how you tap into the industry. You gain everybody else's business. I've been here less than 3 years, and we've done it. And we have people who are in this conversation who have driven that. And please let me reference this. It did not become a thing because Autumn said it should be a thing. It was a true need in the industry. But this is what Work Truck Solutions does. They listen. Kathryn has her ear to the ground. Candy, you have your ear to the ground. Stacie, we're always listening for what's the next problem that we need to solve. And so for me, it's really just seeing what comes next. I think that this company has just done such a great job. And I can say that because I used to at the dealership. I'm whole on the fact that I had commercial sales that came from Work Truck Solutions, not just because I work here. So for me, it all comes back to what's Work Truck Solutions going to do next.
Very exciting. I think we would all give a big high five to that, right? Well, I think that what makes this conversation so compelling is there isn't just one blueprint, right? There hasn't been a single path to success in our business. And each of you brought a distinct background, and those varied perspectives are actively elevating the work truck ecosystem every day. So thank you, Kathryn, Autumn, Steph, Stacie, for sharing your insight, candor, time today. And to everyone tuning in, thank you for joining us. Just a quick note for me to add would be, if anyone came to mind while you were listening to this episode, please share it. And don't forget to follow CVB Network for more conversations with leaders shaping the commercial vehicle industry. Thank you, ladies.